What's up, YouTube? This is the Serial Thriller Broadcast, and today I'm going to be talking about The Ruins. Now, I figure the best way for me to talk about this movie without sounding too negative or overly positive is to make a kind of compliment sandwich. So we start out with some of the good, and then we move to the bad, and then back to some more good. Like a sandwich. The Ruins is directed by Carter Smith and stars Shawn Ashmore, Jenna Malone, Jonathan Tucker, Joe Anderson, and Laura Ramsey. That was a lot of names to remember, So, compliment sandwich. I'm going to start out by saying that the movie has... Siri just came up.
There's nothing to read.
So yeah, it's got great scenery. It's nice to look at. It's always nice to see somewhere that you might want to go on vacation. The acting is pretty passable for the most part. There's no points when I feel like, somebody really took me out of the movie because they didn't act well enough, so there's enough to get by. And the premise is actually kind of cool. It's about killer plants, which I know a lot of people after seeing this, they really didn't think that was very interesting, or it just didn't work for them. But I thought, at least for me, it was something different, because with a lot of horror movies, you kind of fall into the same things. They're like slashers or ghost stories or something like that, but this kind of took things in a different direction, so I thought that was pretty cool. So now we get to the middle of the sandwich. These are some parts I didn't like. There was questionable CG at points. Sort of looks like it was kind of cobbled together a little quickly, which is a shame because they actually had a lot of cool practical effects for the plants. And I thought the practical effects, especially for the plants and the gore, were done really well. So kind of when you see these CG parts come up, they're not convincing enough to kind of fit in with the rest of the movie and sort of the extreme violence and gore that they're going for. Another thing too was that it was kind of drawn out. The story takes place mainly in one setting, which I don't have a problem with. I've seen a lot of movies, like 12 Angry Men, that take place primarily in one setting and it works fine, but there just wasn't enough meat, sandwich joke, to sort of hold the whole story together, especially when they're just in this one static location the whole time. So I wasn't a fan of that. And another thing too, there was no likable characters in it. Like I said, the acting was passable, but the characters themselves, I couldn't get on board with any of them. Like, they had some sort of redeeming parts here and there, like the one couple I kind of liked, the two blonde ones. They were kind of cool. They were alright, I could kind of relate to them, but the one guy, who I'll talk about later because I actually liked his character, who I did like, he actually gets incapacitated and is basically useless for the entire movie. So you kind of wonder, like, why would you make the one guy who's at least somewhat likable and relatable, why would you not use him throughout the rest of the movie, right? So I guess it wasn't really a sandwich after all. The one point I had written down for the end, to kind of tie it all together, was that I actually did like the character of Matthias, who's supposed to be, he's not really involved in the group. It's essentially like two couples and then this one guy who kind of joins up with them when they're in Mexico and they go out to see these ruins. But he was actually like the only guy that I kind of felt like added anything to the storyline. Like, it was kind of the type of person that you'd actually meet and maybe invite with you on some sort of trip like this, but the other people were just frustrating and annoying for the most part. So, to conclude, bad CG, scratch that. Good practical effects, bad CG, passable acting, one good character, which isn't great when you consider there's kind of 5 main ones, and definitely watchable, but I obviously bought it, but I kind of regret it, because I don't think it's something I'm going to watch very often. It's not something I'd sit down and watch more than once a year anyways, but I have it now and I'm gonna keep it, but regret buying it. This has been the Serial Thriller broadcast, and if you feel thrilled, chilled, and fulfilled, hit the subscribe button. My cat's come back.